The film begins on a Friday night in London, where British intelligence officer George Woodhouse meets with his superior, Meacham. Meacham informs George that 5 individuals are suspected of leaking a highly classified software program called Severus. And among them is George's own wife, fellow intelligence officer Catherine St. James. George is given 1 week to uncover the real culprit. In an effort to investigate, George and Catherine host a dinner party for the other 4 suspects: satellite imagery expert Clarissa Dubose, her boyfriend Freddie Smalls, agency psychiatrist Zoe Vaughn, and Colonel Jimmy Stokes. Unbeknownst to the guests, George drugs their food to lower their inhibitions. During the evening, Freddie reveals that George once exposed his own father during a surveillance mission. Tension escalates when George initiates a game where each guest must make a resolution for the person to their right. The game turns hostile when Clarissa accuses Freddie of cheating and stabs his hand, though he's too intoxicated to react much. George begins to secretly investigate Catherine. He finds a movie ticket stub for a film called Dark Windows in her bathroom trash. But when he mentions the title, she claims to have never heard of it. Later, Meacham collapses at home and dies under suspicious circumstances. Although the cause is ruled a heart attack, George suspects foul play. He discreetly slips Meacham's ID card into Catherine's bag so he can retrieve it at her workplace and gain access to her office. There, he discovers a log on her computer indicating an upcoming trip to Zurich. Catherine attends a therapy session with Zoe, where the conversation turns toward her strained relationship with George and her unwavering commitment to her career. Catherine subtly probes Zoe about her personal involvement with Colonel Stokes. She also reveals that her superior, Arthur Stieglitz, views her marriage as a professional risk. Meanwhile, Stokes approaches George during a fishing trip and discloses that someone within the agency used a false identity, Margaret Langford, and is hiding $7 million in a Swiss bank account. Later, George asks Clarissa to covertly redirect a surveillance satellite to monitor Catherine's upcoming meeting with a Russian operative in Switzerland. Though hesitant, she agrees, and George observes the encounter the following day. At the same time, Stokes meets with Zoe to end their relationship. Zoe offers to refer him to another therapist, but Stokes reminds her that he previously confided classified information about Project Severus, and subtly threatens her should that become an issue. Shortly after, Stieglitz summons George, Freddie, and Stokes for an urgent briefing. He informs them of a major security breach. During the unauthorized satellite redirect, a Russian agent named Pavelchuk escaped a safe house with a copy of Severus, planning to trigger a nuclear meltdown. Stieglitz suspects inside involvement and begins to scrutinize George's role in the satellite diversion. When Clarissa confides in Freddie about helping George, Freddie quickly informs Catherine, revealing that George suspects her of being the mole. George and Catherine eventually confront the growing suspicions between them and decide to join forces to uncover the real mole. Catherine enlists Clarissa to track down the Russian operatives, and soon after, she directly confronts Stieglitz, accusing him of orchestrating the Severus leak to incite a nuclear disaster and destabilize the government, regardless of the human cost. The Russian agents are eventually located and eliminated in a targeted drone strike. To narrow down the traitor, George arranges for Clarissa, Freddie, Zoe, and Stokes to undergo polygraph tests, focusing on when each learned about Project Severus. Once he and Catherine piece together the results, they invite the group for another tense dinner gathering. As emotions rise, Catherine places a gun at the center of the table, signaling that nothing will be left unsaid. One by one, secrets unravel. George exposes an affair between Freddie and Zoe, revealing it as Zoe's source of information about Severus. It's also uncovered that Stokes conspired with Stieglitz to leak Severus and trigger mass casualties, while Freddie and Zoe secretly tried to involve Catherine to stop the plan. Zoe's strong Catholic beliefs ultimately kept her from allowing the plot to reach its deadly conclusion. The tension reaches its peak when Stokes grabs the gun and confesses, not only to the conspiracy, but also to Meacham's murder. He attempts to kill George, but the gun is loaded with blanks. Without hesitation, Catherine shoots and kills Stokes with a concealed weapon. Catherine seizes the moment to warn the remaining guests. No one should ever underestimate the bond and loyalty between her and George. Together, they dispose of Stokes's body. In the aftermath, Catherine confronts Stieglitz, declaring the failure of his plan. That night, she and George quietly reaffirm their trust and love for each other, though one unresolved matter remains: the mysterious $7 million still sitting in the Zurich bank account. British intelligence officer George Woodhouse is faced with a devastating revelation. His wife, Catherine St. Jean, is among 5 agents suspected of leaking Severus, a top-secret program capable of triggering a nuclear meltdown with catastrophic consequences. The other suspects include fellow operatives Freddie Smalls, Zoe Vaughn, Clarissa Dubose, and Colonel Jimmy Stokes. As George investigates, tensions rise between him and Catherine. But the truth soon emerges: they're both pawns in a far more dangerous scheme. The leak was no accident. It was orchestrated by their superior, Arthur Stieglitz, in collusion with Stokes, as part of a covert plan to unleash chaos and undermine the government. Working together, George and Catherine uncover the truth. Catherine enlists Clarissa to track down the Russian operatives involved in the scheme, leading to a decisive drone strike that neutralizes the threat. The couple then hosts a tense dinner with the remaining suspects, exposing their secrets one by one.